This view now from external cameras on the International Space Station showing the Soyuz MS-07 as it is now just 560 meters away, closing at a rate of 1.5 meters per second, approaching the neighborhood of the station to begin a fly around of 57.8 degrees in angle at a distance of just 1,300 feet.
Дальность 500 метров, скорость минус 1.44.
Range is 500 meters and range rate is minus 1.44. We copy.
The Russian segment now reported to be in control of the orientation of the International Space Station as the station and the Soyuz vehicle fly 252 statute miles over the South Atlantic, moving from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, approaching the west coast of Africa.
Дальность 450 метров, скорость минус 1.32.
Flight Director Rick Henfling at the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston has just given a final go to his Russian Flight Director counterpart here in Korolyov. Henfling is joined on console by Flight Director Dina Kontela, and at the top of your screen is European Space Agency astronaut Andreas Mogensen, who is acting as the spacecraft communicator, talking to the station crew as is necessary throughout the course of the morning hours.
Дальность 400 метров, скорость минус 1.12. Начался облет.
Moscow, we have started the fly around. We are moving to page 77. The range is 400, and the range rate is 1.24. And the range is 0.38 kilometers. Range rate is minus 1.47. Moscow copies all.
Дальность 360.
Range is 360.
And so, as you heard, the fly-around of the International Space Station has begun by the Soyuz MS-07. Again, all of this under an automated, pre-programmed computer control. Anton Shkaplerov in the center seat of the Soyuz, flanked to his left by Scott Tingle of NASA, and to his right by Norishige Kanai of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, as they approach what will be their home for almost 6 months.
We see the docking node clearly. Yeah, we'll copy.
Дальность 303.
303 is the range, and range rate is 0.73.
In this view, in the lower left-hand corner, you're looking at the ISS Progress 67 cargo craft that will undock from the International Space Station on the night of December 27th, completing its mission as it will be deorbited. Another Progress resupply ship resides on the Pirs docking compartment on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment, and there is another Soyuz vehicle, of course, that brought Joe Akaba, Alexander Mazurkin, and Mark Vanderheid of the station back in September.
Monitoring the range and range rate data. We have selected in Audible, and we are in the Rodeka Rus. Could you please turn that on? Range is 280, and range rate is minus 0.58. We copy all.
Russian flight controllers here in Korolyov providing Shkaplerov with range and rate of closure information that matches all of the parameters on board the Soyuz spacecraft. So far, so good. A perfect approach by the Soyuz as it continues its fly around to precisely align itself with the Rosviet module, which will be its port of call for docking coming up just a few minutes from now. The Rosviet module saw the undocking of the Soyuz MS-05 vehicle just a few days ago that brought Randy Bresnik, Paulo Nespoli, and Sergei Rosansky home after their 4.5-month mission on the orbital outpost.
Range is 240, and range rate is 0.2. We copy all.
The Soyuz about halfway around the angle of its fly-around to align itself with Rosviet. The Rosviet module is on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the station. The Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment is where the Soyuz MS-06 vehicle is currently docked.
The display smaller, and you can send the final approach command. Copy. All right, we are right on the other side of the docking mechanism, and the range is 210 meters. The range rate is 0.3 meters per second. Is Cat 15 illuminated? Affirmative. And after that, off nominal. They're just verifying the command. Moscow. We are performing the roll, and the range is 200 meters, and the misalignment is about 1 square from the SM, and we see that the range rate is decreasing, 0.9009 meters per second.
From the Soyuz camera, a good view, almost at the center line of the crosshairs is the Rosviet module. The Russian flight controllers here assessing the alignment of the Soyuz spacecraft before the command is given to initiate final approach.
I'll tell you to push the button called pre-chow later.
And the Soyuz has begun a short period of station keeping. The brakes are on, and the Russian flight controllers now in a final assessment of the Soyuz systems before the automated command is given to initiate final approach.
It's a go to send the final approach command, or pre-chow command. So we are sending this command from the info. I have sent the command, a final approach. So the LED is illuminated. We are continuing to monitor the approach. We won't install the dissipating screen this time. Copy. So the command to activate the headlight has been sent. So the headlight is on. We're at page 78 of the procedures. So
flying 253 miles over Western Africa, a great view of the Soyuz MS-07, and as you can see in our dueling boxes here, a view from the Soyuz of the International Space Station and the docking port on the Rosviet module. Final approach is expected just moments from now, docking scheduled at 2:43 a.m. Central Time. We may have a handover between tracking and data relay satellites at the time of contact and capture, unless the docking is executed a few seconds ahead of schedule.
So the closing range is 150, and the range rate is -0.80.
And final approach now has been initiated, as you can hear. Currently, the Soyuz is approaching the station at a rate of 0.8 of a meter per second.
Дальность 120, скорость минус 0.7.
So the closing rate is 120 and the range rate is minus 0.7.
Мишень в центре.
The target is in the center and it's about 2 degrees.
Наблюдаем мишень в центре.
Just a few hours shy of 2 full days since its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, the Soyuz MS-07 and 3 new residents for the international outpost in the final minutes before they arrive at their home for the next 5.5 months or so, just about 100 meters away from the Rassvet module and a final docking.
And 90 on course, and the range rate is minus 0.5, so the crosshairs are aligned and the target is in the center. Copy.
Right before contact and capture, the space station will be placed in what is known as free drift. All of the thrusters on the station's Russian segment will be disabled to prevent any inadvertent perturbations of the complex at the time that the two vehicles come into contact with one another. Again, there will be a period of relative motion between the two vehicles of a couple of minutes where the motion will dampen out before the docking probe on the forward end of the Soyuz begins to retract to pull in the station, if you will, and form a hard mate with the closure of the Soyuz hooks at the docking mechanism of the Rassvet module. Soyuz now less than 60 meters away, closing at a rate of 2 meters per second. That rate significantly decreasing now. The approach rate is governed again by the Corps' automated rendezvous system, and now we are under 1 meter per second of closure rate. And again, at contact and capture, the Soyuz will be traveling at a glacial speed of just 1/10 of a meter per second.
Линейку D.
Какой-то ССВП.
Хорошо.
So it's the line.
The docking mechanism now powered up on the Soyuz.
The range is 40. The target is in the center. The crosshairs are aligned. We are monitoring SSVP. D7, D9, D13, and 17 are illuminated. And we have got there on display 44. Copy, and we are going to the next page of the procedures. Yes, please monitor the approach process. 2 squares, about 30 meters is the range, and the range rate is minus 0.16. The target is just 1 degree lower. Copy. And the crosshairs are aligned.
A great view of the Soyuz MS-07 flying over the unmistakable sands of the Algerian desert, moving from southwest to northeast, now just 30 meters away from docking.
So the docking node is 105 squares. The target is in the center, and the crosshairs are aligned. The
Soyuz at the correct closure rate of 1/10 of a meter per second, closing in on 25 meters away.
The docking node is 3 squares, so the range is 20 meters visually, 22 according to course, and the range rate is minus 0.12. So, we are monitoring final approach. There is also a bit roll to the right. The target is moving to the left and a little bit down, just 1 degree. The docking node is 4 squares, so the target is on the left and a little bit lower with a roll of about 4 degrees. Copy.
Just below the circular docking port of Rassvet, you can see the docking target itself. The crosshairs on this external engineering camera on the Soyuz will align with that docking target before the final few feet are negotiated by the Soyuz spacecraft.
So the roll is aligning. Copy. So the range is about 10 meters. Crosshairs are aligned. The target is in the center. Copy.
The station and Soyuz about to cross the northern coast of Africa, about to move over the Mediterranean. This view from the high-definition external viewer camera on the International Space Station.
A little bit of roll, and it is aligning. Copy. We are standing by for contact. 3 meters. The target is in the center. Crosshairs are aligned. So we're at page 80, standing by for contact.
Just about 10 meters separating the Soyuz and the station.
Is the range?
Closing in, standing by for contact and capture of the International Space Station.
Standing by for contact.
Contact confirmed.
Contact confirmed.
Capture confirmed.
Copy. Now we have
At 2:39 a.m. Central Time, 3:39 a.m. Eastern Time, as the Soyuz MS-07 and the International Space Station flew 253 miles over the boot of Italy.
Mechanical contact is 11:39. So we are monitoring the
And a great view of the newly arrived Soyuz MS-07. Again, docking confirmed at 2:39 a.m. Central Time, 3:39 a.m. Eastern Time. 253 miles over the boot of Italy. A textbook arrival of 3 new residents at the International Space Station.
Tank is 105. In the second, 240. Propellant 492. Copy. Recorded the parameters. So we're selecting wide angle lens. It's R7 command. Okay. So I'm...
This is Mission Control Korolyov in the wake of the docking of the Soyuz MS-07 to the International Space Station's Rossviet module. The visiting vehicle officer at Mission Control in Houston, Heidi Paris, reporting that the Soyuz hooks are now driving to form a hard mate between the two vehicles. And the Soyuz hatch now swings open at 1:55 p.m. Moscow time, 4:55 p.m. Central Time, 5:55 a.m. Eastern Time. Again, 4:55 a.m. Central, 5:55 a.m. Eastern Time. The hatches now open between the two spacecraft as the International Space Station flew 253 miles off the east coast of Australia. Anton Shkaplerov first in, being greeted by Alexander Mazurkin, and then Joe Acaba, Mark Vandehei.
Good, baby. Hey, what are you guys doing in Building 9?
And Scott Tingle of NASA makes his way into the International Space Station for the first time. And Norishige Kanai now on board, all 6 crew members together. The crew now will make its way into the Zvezda service module to put on headsets and begin the welcoming ceremony to receive congratulations from Russian, American, and Japanese officials. Once again, the hatch opening to the Soyuz spacecraft at 4:55 a.m. Central Time, 5:55 a.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station flew over the east coast of Australia.